Hello, students of Primero de Bachillerato. I'm just going to check that this is recording. Okay, perfect. Today I have planned to record a video explaining how to use defining and non-defining clauses, but I did that already the other day, so I didn't have anything to do for today. So I have decided to just do an exercise alongside with you to explain or to work on the use of defining and non-defining relative clauses. Basically, we have here several pairs of sentences and we have to join them using one of these relatives: who, which, that, whose, or where. Whom is just who when it's used as an object, but let's leave it so far. I think we can just use who here. Basically, I'm going to give you a link to this PDF if you want to work with the PDF. But it would be nice in any case that you try to do all these sentences yourselves before I do the correction. So you can do it with the PDF. You can pause the video here and do them now. And now I'm just going to start attempting to do them myself. I've done the exercise a couple of times. The first one I've got 3 wrong. The second one was trying to see how the person that has done the exercise decides which one is defining and non-defining. And I think I've got a hang of it already, except for one sentence which I still don't know what criteria he's using. But let's go. She showed me a photograph of her son. This sentence already makes complete sense. So whatever thing we add is going to be optional information, extra information that it could be removed and it wouldn't change the meaning of the sentence. Therefore, it's non-defining. We have to put it between commas, and we cannot use that. Okay, so here is a person, so we have to use who. She showed me a photograph of her son, who is a policeman. Okay, so we don't have to repeat son because we're using who as the subject, and we just can put a comma and finish the sentence. We don't need to always put 2 commas in this type of sentences, only if they are in the middle of the main clause. 2. The new stadium will be open next month. Again, it makes complete sense. So the rest is extra information. We cannot use that because it's an undefining clause, and it has to go between commas. So the new stadium that holds 90,000 people will be open next month. Again, we don't repeat the stadium because the which acts as the subject already. The new stadium which holds blah, blah, blah. 3. John is one of my closest friends. Again, this sentence makes sense, and it's important because the subject is kind of defined already. John is a person who we know who he is, and he's one of my closest friends. So we have to use who. It's non-defining. We cannot use that, and it's optional information that we could remove. So it has to go between commas. John, who I have known for 8 years, is one of my closest friends. 4. The boy is one of my closest friends. Okay, I've got this one right the first time, but as I said, I didn't know exactly why, just by intuition. Now I realize that what the author of the exercise is doing is that he's leaving some words kind of ill-defined, not very defined, and we have to define them. So the boy, who is the boy? Is just a boy floating in the air. We have to say something about him to make the sentence have meaning. Okay, who is that boy? So I'm going to explain you. The boy who is waiting for me, in this case, is a defining clause because we cannot remove this information, because we need this information to define the subject, to describe the boy. So we can use he or that. The boy that is waiting for me is one of my closest friends, or the boy who's waiting for me is one of my closest friends. Thank you for the letter. This one again makes perfect sense, therefore is non-defining, and the rest of the information is optional, or it's extra information that can be removed. We cannot use that, and it has to go between commas. So thanks for the letter that I was very happy to get. We don't repeat the letter. Thanks for the letter which I was very happy to get, because we've said that it's non-defining. We cannot use that. That was a mistake on my part. 6. The letter is in the drawer, and here comes the conflict. I've got this one right at first because I think it makes sense that it's a defining clause. But if you look at it, the letter is in the drawer makes complete sense. Never mind. I think the author considered that the letter has to be defined and that the rest, Peter has sent the letter to you, is not optional. So we have to use which, because we're talking about a thing and we cannot use that. It has to go between commas. The letter which Peter has sent to you is in the drawer. 7. Next week I'm going to Glasgow. My sister lives in Glasgow. I think this is not defining. Next weekend I'm going to Glasgow makes perfect sense. Therefore, the rest is extra. We're talking about a person. Therefore, we need to use who, and we cannot use that because it's non-defining. And it has to go between commas. Next weekend I'm going to Glasgow. We're talking about the place. It's where. Next weekend I'm going to Glasgow, where my sister lives, which is extra information. Yeah. But anyway, in this case, it doesn't say if it's defining or not defining, but I think it's next weekend I'm going to Glasgow. Yeah, it could be either. I don't know. It's not very clear. Next summer we are visiting the town. The town. Which town? I think this is the clearest defining sentence in the exercise. It's a town like that floating in the air. It needs to be defined. It needs to be described. So this is a defining clause. Therefore, we could use that. But since we're going to talking about a place, we have to use where anyway. So next summer we are visiting the town where my father was born, without commas. We can put a comma to breathe, but it's not necessary. The storm caused a lot of damage. Again, this makes perfect sense. Anything we add is extra. So it's a non-defining clause. We're talking about a storm, therefore it is a thing which we cannot use that, and it has to go between commas. The storm, which nobody had been expecting, caused a lot of damage. 10. That man over there is an artist. To me, it doesn't make too much sense alone, but yeah, the man over there. So the over there is defining the man, so we don't need to define it further. So it's a non-defining clause. The fact that I don't remember his name is extra or optional information. Therefore, the man, but in this case it's possessive because we're talking about the name that is a possession of the man. The man whose name I don't remember, or the man over there whose name I don't remember, is an artist. 11. Mr. J is retiring next month. Makes perfect sense. Anything we add is optional. He has worked for the company all of his life. Okay, so we have to use who because we're talking about a person, and we cannot use that because it's non-defining and it has to go between commas. Mr. J, who has worked for the same company all of his life or all his life, is retiring next month. 12. My sister is visiting us next week. So again, makes perfect sense. Anything else that we add, it's extra information. This one I got it wrong at the beginning because my sister is visiting next week. I thought it kind of was needed, but apparently no. My sister is visiting us next week. My sister, who you once met, We don't repeat the her because we know already that we're talking about my sister is visiting us next week. My sister, who you once met, her no, who you once met, is visiting us next week. Mr. Carter is very interested in our plan. Again, the I spoke to him is extra information. This was one of the ones that I got wrong at the beginning because Mr. Carter is very interested in our plan. I spoke to him last night. To me, they sounded good together, but yeah, apparently it's the first one is defined enough. That is so. Mr. Carter, who I spoke to last night, is very interested in our plan. Again, we remove the him because we know already who we're talking about when we add the who. I've just bought some books about astronomy. Okay, this makes perfect sense. Anything is extra. I just bought some books about astronomy, comma, is a thing which I'm very interested in, okay? And we cannot use that because it's a non-defining clause. And finally, the man is in prison. The man is in prison. Again, this one is similar to the boy. The man, what man? It's a bit... it needs to be defined. It's just the man on itself is we don't know who we're talking about or why we are talking about this person. Why are we talking about this man? Because it's the man who Janet fell in love with. So it's a non-defining clause. The information, the extra information is not optional because otherwise this man we don't know why we're talking about him, and since it's a defining clause, we can use that. So the man that fell in love, that Janet fell in love with, is in prison, or the man who Janet fell in love with is in prison. So that's it. Now I'm just going to show you the answers, okay? In case you don't want to open the PDF, you can pause the video here. And now I'm going to show the rest. I'm sorry, I think you cannot see. Sorry, I'm gonna do the whole thing again. Can we see the whole thing? Yeah. So one shot, pause the video, second shot, and that's it. Bueno, muy breve explicación por si no sabéis entrar a los que lleváis el inglés un poco peor. He estado un poco describiendo cómo iba haciendo el ejercicio. Básicamente he ido viendo qué frases tenían sentido por sí mismas y sobre todo, bueno, haciéndolo una primera vez que he fallado un par de las, o tres creo, de frases de estas, ya me he dado cuenta un poco la filosofía que estaba utilizando el autor de este ejercicio, un poco para apuntar cuáles son defining clauses y cuáles son non-defining clauses, y entonces básicamente lo que los sujetos que están así como poco definidos consideraba que había que añadir información, ¿no? Que había que decir por qué estamos hablando de esa persona, que es the boy. Entonces aquí consideraba que este chico, ¿por qué estamos hablando de este chico? Ahora hace falta definirse. Who's waiting for me? O por ejemplo la última era muy clara, ¿no? The man, el hombre que está en prisión. El hombre está en prisión. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué hablamos de este hombre? Entonces como que necesita definirse y esa información no es extra. Había un par de ellas que eran un poquito más ambiguas y por lo demás, pues bueno, hemos estado viendo, ahora lo podéis escuchar otra vez si os hace falta un par de veces, hemos estado viendo pues en qué casos encajaba que fuera una persona, que fuera una cosa, y hemos estado recordando que si es non-defining clause, que si la información es extra, no podemos usar that y hay que ponerlo entre comas. Aunque si la frase está al final, pues bueno, con que pongamos una coma entre medias de las dos, vale. Y luego solo en una de las frases había un whose, que era creo el hombre cuyo nombre no recuerdo que era este. Y ya por último recordad que en algunas, pues yo que sé, si para no repetir el sujeto quitábamos por ejemplo lo de her son o algunos de estos pronombres como him en este caso, pues no se repetían porque ya al poner el pronombre relativo al lado, pues ya sabemos de quién estamos hablando y no hace falta poner esos pronombres personales. Bueno, pues esto es todo. Muchas gracias y nos vemos en el próximo vídeo que haga para vosotros. Hasta luego.